Travel Talk, where our expert magical memory planners discuss ways you can have fun, memorable, and stress-free family vacations.
Well, summer vacations are coming and it might be time to get the family on a flight to head to your next destination. And so on this episode of Travel Talk, I'd like to share with you some of our best tips for traveling with families and what to expect at the airport. So first of all, before you're even heading to the airport, the first thing you have to do is book your flights. And so in that process, we recommend that you check with the policies of the airline to make sure that it's going to work with what you're looking for. So different policies on baggage, including the weight of the bags. Some airlines accept bags up to 50 pounds and some are 40 pounds. So that will affect how many bags you're bringing, whether you have to pre-purchase those bags, purchase them at the airport, or they're included complimentary with your flight. So that's one of the big things to think about when traveling with a family. Another thing to think about is the stroller situation. So if you're bringing a stroller with you and you plan to keep it in the airport and gate check it, which we definitely recommend, you will want to see if they have any restrictions on the size or the weight of gate checked items. So that's important too. For our family, we've done really well with Southwest. They have great policies for families with children under the age of 6 that can board between Group A and Group B. They have an open seating policy. So that's something that you need to understand and make sure you understand the check-in process and what that means to be open seating, since you're not selecting seats ahead of time. But we know their system well and have found that with knowing their system, it can work really well for families. And because they include 2 bags with luggage, that you get checked luggage, and then you also get a personal item in a carry-on, that has really helped with the cost and allowed us to bring what we want to bring on vacation. So we've really enjoyed flying with Southwest. Now, once you have that all figured out, time will fly by and it'll be time to head out on your trip. So let's talk a little bit about arrival at the airport. So first is the parking situation. And there's a couple ways to do this. You can park at the airport, you can park off-site. If you have a little bit of a trip to the airport or you have a really early morning flight, you might want to consider doing a stay, park, and fly. There are some hotels. We have a list at almost all the major airports in the United States where you can stay at a hotel. They will transfer you to the airport. They allow you to park your car anywhere between 7 and 14 days, depending on the hotel's policies, included with the cost of your hotel. So if you have a longer trip, being able to park at the hotel and then have that include the parking for you and then transfer you to and from the airport and not having to even get into the airport area with your own car can be really convenient. Sometimes it can save you a little money, but sometimes it can just be really convenient. So that is definitely an option to consider, and we can help with that, of course. The other thing we want to remind you is it is recommended that you arrive at the airport 2 hours ahead of domestic flights and 3 hours ahead of international flights. Our personal experience in the last 6 months to a year has been that some of those times we get to the airport and it is crazy busy, both at the check-in counter for the airport or for the airline, as well as security. So we are recommending, if you'd like to have a little bit more of a relaxed time and you don't mind waiting on the other side of security versus being rushed through, we would give yourself about a half an hour extra. Some of the parking arrangements can take a little longer than expected as well. And you just never know kind of what you're going to encounter. We prefer to eat and have some time on the other side of security. And so we don't want to be rushed. So we do give that extra half an hour. The other thing with that is, as long as the international flights are requiring a lot of extra paperwork, with countries varying on whether they need a vaccine card or entry paperwork or test results, that has taken longer to check in at the international desk. And even if you're flying to a country that doesn't require any of those things, there are other people waiting in line that are boarding flights that do. And so that process of checking in at the international counter can take longer than expected. So no one wants to be rushed, especially with the kids. So leave yourself a little bit of extra time for those flight arrivals. The last thing I want to mention on the check-in process is if you're traveling with a lap passenger, that would be a child under the age of 2 that you did not purchase a ticket for, which you can if you want to. You can bring their car seat and they can sit on their own seat. But if you have a child under 2 that you did not purchase a ticket for, that you are using as a lap passenger, they still need a boarding pass. And when you check in at the kiosk, or if you checked in at home and printed your boarding passes, it most likely did not print a boarding pass for your lap child. So you will have to go to the full service counter and speak with an agent there and have them print your lap passenger a boarding pass. Super important, because you'll get hung up at security and have to go back again to get that. So everybody needs a boarding pass, whether they're a lap passenger or not. So make sure you stop in and get that. All right, next, you checked in, your luggage is all gone, and you are ready to head to security. So security has two ways to get through security. You can go through the pre-check, the TSA pre-check line, or the regular line. In order to get TSA pre-check on your boarding pass, it's a process you would do prior to your flight where you would purchase it. It's a 5-year program. You would need it for everyone in your travel party that is 13 and older. If they're under 13, they get to go with the adult that they're with. So that's not a problem for them. But if you do want to use expedited and you want to fly frequently in the next couple of years, on all domestic flights, you might want to purchase or look into purchasing the TSA pre-check program. It's really not too big a deal. And I have teenagers, and so for their 13th birthday, they get TSA pre-check. That's the first thing we do, make sure they have it, so we can all go through TSA pre-check. Definitely saves time. You don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to take your liquids out of your bag or your laptops and things like that. So we really enjoy pre-check, but maybe you don't travel that often. You don't have TSA pre-check. So let's give you a few tips to get through the regular security line. So first of all, like everything else with traveling with a family, you need a really good plan, right? You need to know, we always like to do an order. So one of us is in the front, the kids are in the middle, an adult at the end. One of us is responsible for all the kids, and one of us is responsible for all the bags. That way nobody or no one gets left behind, right? We don't want to leave anything or anyone behind at security. So, typically I would go first. I would have the boarding passes for the kids. I would get us kids through. I would get us through the security line, through the security checkpoint on the other side. My husband would have the 2 or 3 backpacks and the stroller. He would come last. He would take care of that, because you need to go, fold up the stroller, and there's just a little bit of a different process there. And so he has the attention of the TSA officer to handle the bags and the stroller. And I have my eyes on the 3 kids so that no one or nobody gets left behind. So in thinking about that, also how you pack your bags going through security can be helpful. So you don't have to have your bags packed to go through security the way that you want them packed to go onto the airline, right? You can kind of rearrange things a little bit. So when you're going through security, condensing your bags can be really helpful so that you don't leave anything behind. Anything that has liquid in it, so that's 3 ounces or less, is allowed through security, as long as they're all grouped together into a Ziploc bag. So when we think about liquids, don't just think about water. Think about your suntan lotion that might be a liquid or a cream, any face creams, or any medical items like medicines that are liquids, like Tylenol or liquid Advil for the little ones. Applesauce, yogurt, any food or item that is a paste, a liquid, a gel, anything like that. If it's not a solid, probably a liquid. So those items should all be together in one Ziploc bag, so that when you get to security, you know right where that is. You can pull that bag out because it needs to be removed. The other things that need to be pulled out for security are your electronics. Sometimes it's just the larger electronics like a laptop, but sometimes they'll say, as we're going to security, pull out, iPads and Kindles and e-readers and things like that too. So be listening for those announcements. But in order to expedite, I would keep all those electronics together. You can distribute them among the kids and put them in different bags later, but have all your liquids and all your electronics together in the same bag and next to each other in the same zipper, so you can open that compartment, take all those things out, and then they're ready to go back in. If there's anything you need to bring through security that's over 3 ounces, but they're for your baby, maybe you need breast milk, or you need formula that's pre-prepared, or maybe, for other reasons, you need some snacks or food items for them. Those items can go through with extra inspection from the TSA officers. You just want to let them know, hey, I have this item, it needs to go through. If it's a prescription, maybe your child's on an antibiotic and you have a bottle of antibiotics that has to have ice packs, right? So those types of things, please just alert the TSA as soon as you get to that section. Let them know what it is. If it's a medicine or something and it needs to be refrigerated with the ice packs, have it together. Have it labeled with the child's name on it. Don't remove anything from its original containers, and just, make that to their attention and expect to have that little extra time. And that's where that plan of someone who's with the kids and someone who's with the bags can be helpful, because if you need additional inspection, if they need to take it aside and test it, you don't want to be like, wait, we're all caught up in what's going on in TSA and the questions and what we need to do here, that we've lost track of some of our people. So have a plan, organize your bags, be ready to follow those rules. And in the bio or in the show notes and on our blog, we have some links to the TSA website that's helpful with some of those specific things. Okay, so you made it through security. And now you're in what I call the fun part of the airport, where there's food and there's snacks and there's gates, and you're ready to see the airplanes and get on your way. So now that you're on that side of things, you can purchase food items and bring them with you. So if you brought with you those sippy cups and those water bottles for the kids, but they were empty before you went through security, since you can't bring more than 3 ounces of liquid, you can pack those empty cups and things with you. And now that you're on the other side, you can get whatever you want, fill them up, and anything you purchase at this point can be brought on the plane. So feel free to bring those water bottles and those snacks. Frankly, some of the funnest parts about flying is going into the little gift shop and buying snacks that normally you wouldn't be allowed to have at home. So get that little bag of chips or that little bag of gummies or something for the flight. It makes it a little bit fun and special. So those items can be purchased and brought through. If you have a longer flight and you want to buy a sandwich or a bagel or something at the food concessions there, anything you purchase on the other side of security can be brought through and brought on your flight with you. One of the first things you want to do, though, is if you have those gate check items like a stroller, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the gate agent and get those items tagged. So they don't get tagged when you tag your baggage. You have to get them tagged at the gate. And getting that done as soon as you head to the gate and the gate agent is there is a great thing just to kind of get checked off the list, because every flight I'm on, I always see families that are at the last minute realizing that they didn't do that step and they're running to do that, and it affects their boarding. And so we just want to make sure that you get that done as soon as you're through security and you're in that gate area. Get those tags for your bags. You've gotten your snacks, you've gotten your tags. Flights start boarding and arranging for boarding around 30 minutes before your scheduled departure time. So usually around the 1 hour mark, 45 minutes, depending on how much you have to do. That's when I had the little ones, that was our checkpoint time, an hour before, where we did the bathroom, we changed diapers, we made sure our drinks were full, we made sure all our bags were organized the way we wanted them on the flight. Everything was kind of ready to go at that 1 hour mark, because before you know it, it's going to be time to start getting organized for boarding, and the announcements are going to be made, and you want to pay attention to those. The other thing to keep in mind is sometimes there are flight delays. And when there's a delay, particularly if it's a little bit longer, you tend to want to wander and go for a walk around the airport. But keep in mind that a delay is never like settled. So they are always still have the goal of getting you out on time. So even if your flight's been delayed an hour, suddenly they might have been able to change a plane, change a pilot, or change a stewardess, or fix the problem faster than they had anticipated. And suddenly they're ready to board. This has happened to me a lot, where I was ready, thinking I had this long period of time, I was going to go get a coffee or something. And then all of a sudden they're like, we fixed the problem, we're going to start boarding in 10 minutes. So you really always, once you're within that flight time or that scheduled departure time, within a half an hour of that scheduled departure time, you're going to want to be within earshot, within eyeshot, or someone in your party is going to want to be near your original gate. Because if there's a gate change, if there's a sudden change in the departure, the apps will notify you. But the best way to know, the best way to make sure that you don't miss anything is someone in the gate area. So make sure you don't wander too far. Even if somebody takes a walk, make sure somebody's there paying attention to any future changes, because they can change at any time, because ultimately they want to get you out on time. So even if there's a delay, they're still working to try to get you out on time. Okay, so they've made the announcement. It's time to line up. It's time to board your flight. So make sure everybody has their boarding pass. Most of the times they'll want the kids, if they're old enough to walk, to hold their boarding pass. So you can hand those out to them. If you did a digital boarding pass, make sure your screen is lit up all the way to the brightness and you're ready to go for that. And you're going to head down the jet bridge. Any gate checked items are going to be left at the end of the jet bridge right before you go into the plane. Once you get in the plane, get everyone seated, seatbelts, put your things away and all that. You'll be ready to go on your flight. So I always like to have each child have a bag so that they kind of had their own snacks and goodies and toys and games. Like to pack something new that they've never seen before. In fact, when the kids were little, and especially with longer flights, I often had one or two things that they didn't even know I had that were my emergency backup toys. So if everything else failed, if the device ran out of battery, if the Wi-Fi on the flight wasn't working, if our downloaded movie had a glitch, anything that went on, the coloring books got boring, the games we packed were boring. I tried to pack the things that were new, the things that they hadn't done a lot, and then something that's an old favorite too. But I always had one or two brand new things that they'd never seen before in my bag. And if we didn't use them the whole trip, that's great. I would save them for a birthday or something upcoming. But I always had something brand new in my bag so that if the things that we brought and the things that we planned didn't work out, I had one more emergency thing that I could pull out. I also brought them something in their bag that was something cozy that would help them sleep. Sometimes just moving in the plane, just like in a car ride, kids will fall asleep and it helps the flight go faster. It's really helpful for everyone. So I always brought a little special blanket or a lovey or something that they could cuddle with, and that would help them feel comfortable, safe, and maybe even fall asleep. But everybody having their own bag was great. So once we got to the gate, I could reorganize, and then this was their bag, these are their things, and they could kind of go in there and see what they had. So also keep in mind that, once those fasten seatbelt signs go off, you're allowed to get up and use the restroom on the flight. But usually as we start descending, they'll do that final trash pickup, and then they don't want anybody to really get up at that point. And then, especially if it's an international flight, once you get off the flight, there may not be a spot to use the bathroom until after you get through customs and immigration. So when you're thinking about that timeline again, about an hour before your expected arrival time or landing time is a good time to make sure that diapers are changed and bathrooms are taken so that you guys are good through landing and arrival and whatever has to be done as soon as you arrive, because those emergency bathroom stops at the end there can be really challenging, especially if you're in the middle of the plane, your child really has to go to the bathroom. You can't figure out if it's faster to try to get off the plane or go against the flow and get to the back of the plane and use the bathroom. So about an hour before your expected landing time is a great time to see if anybody needs to use the bathroom. So those are some of our tips. Once you get there, you land, you go get your luggage, your vacation is about to get started, and it's super exciting. On the reverse, on the way home, once you land, at least you get to go home and tell everybody about your trip and think about how much fun you had. So we hope that this is helpful for you when you're traveling with your family on your next flight, that you know what to do, what to expect, what to pack, and hopefully make things go a little smoother for you. For lots of travel tips and lots more information, follow Travel Talk or visit our website at magicalmemoryplanners.com, where we help make vacations for families easy. Thanks a lot.